I just grabbed the girl's hands and we were running, and there's a body and another body and another body.
This is a crazed lunatic full of hate.
It was an act of pure evil.
All right, here we are at Fox News Alert, the latest on the mass murder on the Strip. We have so many questions still that need to be answered. 59 now confirmed dead, and 527 are hurt in area hospitals following the worst shooting in modern American history.
Police are now trying to figure out what led a lone gunman to open fire on a crowd of innocent concert goers from inside a luxury hotel in Las Vegas, surrounded by 23 guns and thousands of rounds of ammo.
We are now learning more about the victims and the American heroes who risked their own lives to save others.
You just fight or flight, and there's so many people around you that are, I mean, they were all dropping.
Retired firefighter, he came over to us. He could see we were all huddled around my mom. He said, if you want to live, you need to get out of here right now. And we refused. We said we weren't going to leave our mom. And he said, you will die if you stay here. He goes, I will stay here. I'm trained for this. I will stay here with your mother.
Thoughts and prayers. Wow, that's amazing. Thoughts and prayers are now pouring in from around the world. For example,
In Paris, the Eiffel Tower going dark last night, and in Tel Aviv, City Hall lighting up in red, white, and blue in solidarity with the United States of America.
Meanwhile, Steve's in Las Vegas, standing right outside the hotel where the shooter called home for 3 days prior to the outrageous act that killed so many and hurt so many more. Steve, as you look around, I still see flashing lights. Is that just to keep people away from the tape?
It's still a crime scene, Brian. Remember, it happened right back there. There's the Mandalay Bay, and between me and the Mandalay Bay, that's the area where the concert was, and that is where 22,000 people were. And remember, in the very beginning, they couldn't figure out, is the shooter on the ground? And that's what they thought. And that's why the Las Vegas police who were responding were running toward the Mandalay Bay. One guy just had a revolver out. He didn't realize there was a guy up on the 32nd floor with all those high-powered rifles. What's interesting is I was talking to some entertainers about, when you're up on stage, do you ever think about that happening? And I was talking to one of the biggest stars in show business yesterday, and they told me they think about it all the time. And he said, if you don't use my name, I will tell you a secret. And the secret is, every time I go up on stage, I have a gun on me.
Wow.
Wow, and the thing is too, you have a situation where, Ariana Grande had a situation where her concert comes to a close, and then that happens. Then you have what happened yesterday, where people sit out in front, and you have to wonder at major events, if you're a parent, not saying don't go, but you might want to make a call to Madison Square Garden, to your local Coliseum, and say, wait a second, what kind of security do you have there? On the perimeters, for example,
right.
That was enough. But then they had to push it back now after what happened in Manchester.
You know what's sad?
And now this in an open-air concert is going to have people rethink it.
You know what's sad? Yeah, we all rethink how we live our lives because of this one guy now. Now we're going to think differently when we go to a concert. You have these crazy lunatics that did that on 9/11 to all of us here in America. Now going through security at an airport, it delays all of us. Everything changes because of these nut jobs, these evil individuals. And it really just makes us all furious. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is now, Steve.
Sure, absolutely. But here's the thing. And I've been talking to some Las Vegas police who've been training for years, when they handle a big crowd like the one they had right back there a couple of days ago with 25,000 people. They train for everything. They never trained for that before because they never thought about somebody, if a window opens, then they train for that. It's like around the White House. The Secret Service knows exactly what windows open surrounding the White House, and they got to, if the president's traveling somewhere, they got to worry about that. But if the windows don't open, they're not as worried about that building. Now, with this guy back there who had some sort of a hammer device to crack open 2 panes of glass, now they're thinking, well, maybe they could do that with windows that don't open. So maybe we do have to do it. But then again, that would mean you would have to secure every building in America.
No
almost.
balconies either on that hotel. Meanwhile, 4 minutes after the top of the hour.
Meanwhile, Adam Housley is following the latest on this investigation. He is on the Vegas Strip. He's near the shooting scene. Adam, you know more about who this guy was.
Yeah, Ainsley, and we also want to talk about what Steve referred to. There's still an ongoing active crime scene here, and you're still seeing ambulances leave, and each time an ambulance leaves, obviously with no lights and sirens, it's taking a body away. So just one thing to keep in mind, we're over 30 hours from this shooting, and there's still families that don't know officially that their loved ones have been either seriously injured or killed here. We're also getting an idea from eyewitnesses, which we've heard from as well, about that concert, about basically the wide open view that this man had. Take a listen to one eyewitness about what it was like when basically she says she had no place to go.
I was scared the whole time because the shooting never stopped. I mean, it stopped for like seconds, and then it would start shooting again, and you're out in the open in the middle of the field. Like, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. There's tables, but I mean, gunshots clearly can go through a table.
Gunshots clearly went through a lot of things. People were under the stage and inside beer trucks as well. This is a map of the actual area. It gives you an idea of where we are. If you've flown into Las Vegas, basically at the end of the runway is the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Kind of shows you across the street the vacant lot where the concert area was located. Now, 1 year prior, almost exactly to the day, a viewer had been here, someone I became friends with, had been here for the exact same concert, and because they enjoyed how cool their suite was, he took his phone out, like a lot of us would do, and videotaped a walk inside that room on the 32nd floor that 1 year later would be the room that this gunman used. And you can see as you walk in, it's a 2-room suite. It's not 2 separate rooms, and you can see the views, guys. I mean, clearly unobstructed from 2 different angles, right down on those 22,000 people that were enjoying a concert, only to be interrupted by gunfire and this madman. Back to you guys.
Yeah, such a fascinating point of view. And what are the chances of someone renting the exact same suite? Adam, great job lassoing that. Meanwhile, just the question I get with no matter where I go is, as horrific as it is, people just can't get their head around who this person is, why he would do it. An extreme gambler? Did he actually lose everything? One of the networks reported that he had a big transaction. They can't figure out if he got a big win or a big loss leading up to the attack 48 hours ago.
Well, Steve, his brother was interviewed yesterday and said that he seemed normal. His brother said that about him. Said he was a millionaire, had a lot of real estate investments, had 2 planes and several properties, and he loved gambling.
Yeah, and in fact, apparently he was at the Mandalay Bay and won some money before he did the shooting. So it's not like that's going to be a big problem. The other thing about him is he simply did not fit the profile of a mass murderer. About twice as old. Usually when somebody decides, I'm going to go out and I'm going to kill as many people as I can, they do it right then. They don't check in on a Thursday. They don't sit around in a hotel for 3 days and just wait.
Of the concert, right?
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Good
and
point.
they had some explosive material in his apartment, in his house. Same explosive material that they used with the Oklahoma bomber used. So this guy was just armed to the
Ammonium
teeth.
nitrate.
Yeah.
Well, with everything possible. Meanwhile, at 8 minutes after the hour, let's talk about how the White House handled it. They're staying out of politics to their immense credit, and that's really what Bill Clinton did after the Oklahoma bombing, obviously what George Bush did after 9/11. Here's the press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and the president.
I want to thank the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and all of the first responders for their courageous efforts and for helping to save the lives of so many. The speed with which they acted is miraculous and prevented further loss of life.
Sadly, multiple police officers, both on duty and off duty, were among those killed or injured. The Gospel of John reminds us that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend. The American spirit cannot and will not ever be broken. We will come together, united as one nation.
We pray for the entire nation to find unity and peace, and we pray for the day when evil is banished and the innocent are safe from hatred and from fear. May God bless the souls of the lives that are lost. May God give us the grace of healing, and may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on. Thank you. God bless America.
And the president will be there, and he'll be there after going to Puerto Rico today. He's going to be by you tomorrow, Steve, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and Stevie ordered...
Absolutely, and of course he's going to be thanking all the first responders.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the first responders who were back in that field, they weren't just people who wore a uniform. There were a lot of first responders who were just ordinary people. They had traveled to the event with friends, and then suddenly they were the first responder, because if they didn't pull their friend to safety or pick up somebody who'd been shot, they'd just be out in that field, could have bled to death. But there were so many guardian angels out there in that field this 36 hours ago. I mean, how many people are alive today because they were able to get to the hospital within that hour?
The crowd went crazy. They all held up their cell phones to the lights. You could see all of the lights, and they were singing back those very words. Listen to this. Wow. Steve and Brian, last night Laura Ingraham said that is a gift. That video is a gift to all of us Americans, and I'm sure to the families that lost their loved ones there, knowing they were crying out to God to bless this country just before they went home to meet him.
Right, and you know, Ainsley, one of the things that is so poignant about those images where everybody is singing is to know that an hour later, 59 of those people would be dead, and 500 of them were wounded. How many dozens are still in the hospital right now?
Meanwhile, John Rich was on last night with Sean Hannity and talked about that moment and also where he was when this whole thing happened.
Every show that we do, and this has been now for over 1,000 concerts in a row, Big Kenny and I like to invite up active duty and veterans and sometimes first responders as well. And then we always lead the entire crowd in God Bless America. So last night we continued that tradition and did it again. And Sean, you look out there and there's 22,000 people. There were people there from all over the United States and North America singing God Bless America at the top of their lungs with their phones held high with the lights on, celebrating freedom and the ability to live as Americans and sing together in unity.
He was actually at his bar right afterwards when Jason Aldean was actually on stage, and he came back and talked about that. All right. Meanwhile, Steve, stay right there. At 13 minutes after the hour, we move ahead. The man who killed 59 people on the Vegas Strip stockpiled an arsenal of weapons in the hotel and at his house. But don't call him crazy. Rob O'Neill, the man who killed Osama bin Laden, joins us next.
And we are getting our first look at the victims. Many of them turned hero in their last moments. Look how young most of them are. The incredible stories of bravery. Straight ahead.
A gentleman that was shot, and he said, "Can you help me?" And so I put him in my car, and I had like 6 people in my car, people with shoes, running just to get away.
Is your personal information already being traded on the dark web?
Find out with Experian. Right now, Experian is offering a one-time dark web scan completely free. Go to Experian.com/scan to see if your information is on the dark web. Then learn how Experian can help protect your identity. Act now to help keep your personal information safe. Get your free dark web scan at Experian.com/scan today.
I could tell right away ZipRecruiter was going to make hiring a lot easier.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com and post to over 100 job boards with one click. Then easily select the best candidates from one list. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/Fox.
What do Sure Payroll customers have in common? A super easy, affordable way to file and pay payroll taxes. With Sure Payroll, payroll taxes are a breeze. We process employees, contractors, and you can even pay yourself. We file and pay your federal, state, and local taxes. Just call 844 Payroll or visit surepayroll.com to get a free quote. Award-winning customer service, guaranteed tax filing, plus 60 days free payroll.
Whatever you're doing to stay healthy, there's something you may be missing. A key part of your wellness that you may be overlooking. It's your eyes. That's why there's Ocuvite from Bausch & Lomb. As you age, your eyes can lose vital nutrients. Ocuvite helps replenish those nutrients. Ocuvite has lutein, zeaxanthin, and omega-3. Nourish your eyes to help them be their healthy best. Ocuvite Eye Vitamins. Be good to your eyes.
I had so many reasons for not losing weight, for putting it off. Sound familiar? It's time to take control with Nutrisystem.
Introducing new Lean 13 from Nutrisystem. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guaranteed.
You gain energy, you improve your health, and you lose weight. I'm Marie, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order your 28-day plan right now. With Lean 13, you'll get specially designed meals, plus 1 week of new NutriCrush bars to crush cravings free, and 1 week of Turbo Shakes to bust belly bloat free.
Belly fat? Got that under control, too.
Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 13 pounds and 7 inches overall your first month. Millions of people have lost weight on Nutrisystem.
It's time to take control.
Go online or call 888-526-THIN right now and get new Lean 13 with bars and shakes free.
Prudential asked these couples, how much money do you think you'll need in retirement? Then we found out how many years that money would last them.
How long do you think we'll keep?
Oh, you're gonna leave me back here at year 9? How did this happen?
It turned out a lot of people fell short of even the average length of retirement.
We have to think about not when we expect to live to, but when we could live to.
Let's plan for income that lasts all our years in retirement.
Prudential, bring your challenges. Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
We have new details about the shooter in the hotel room he turned into an elaborate kill center. Thousands of bullets stockpiled in bags, at least 23 guns and platforms that were set up by the windows to view down on his victims, 32 stories below. What does this arsenal tell all of us? Well, here to weigh in is former Navy SEAL, Fox News contributor, and the author of that book right there called The Operator, The Man Who Killed Bin Laden, Rob O'Neill. Rob, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Ainsley.
What do you know about, when you hear this story and you hear about all of his weapons, 23 semi-automatic guns that he has made into automatic weapons, what does that tell you?
Well, just based on where he was, the position of the suite, the height, how there were 2 different angles in a 2-bedroom suite, knowing that he could get different firing positions and he could maneuver if he needed to. The weapons that he brought there, the fact that he had either automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons converted to automatic weapons, and bipods for stable shooting positions with, I've heard, long guns with scopes. So initially he knows he can get the shooting started. He can move when he knows there's a little bit of security to get into the area where the concert goers are. And once he starts shooting, it's going to be tough for them to get out. And with 2 different angles, moving by himself, he can keep them in what we would call like a kill box or a fatal funnel.
How easy is it to convert these guns?
Well, for anyone that knows how to do it, it's simple. You can either convert the guns, messing with certain parts of the weapon, the interior, 4 to 6 minutes of doing a couple modifications. There's stuff that I'm not going to get into that's available out there.
Like devices
there
that
are devices
do this
you can use on the stock and the trigger where technically it's not an automatic weapon, because the definition of automatic is, 1 trigger pull and every round will go out as long as you keep it depressed.
Mm-hmm.
But there are modifications where it sort of does it for you when your fingers.
Well, can those devices be illegal? Do they have to sell those?
It's illegal. It's illegal to use them, and it's illegal. I don't think it's illegal to buy them, but you can't use them and modify them, which doesn't make a lot of sense because there's so many loopholes. Because for some reason, there's a lot of people out there that really think they need automatic weapons. I disagree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with a semi-automatic weapon like an AR-15. People do use to hunt for home defense, but when you start getting into automatic weapons and like AK-47s that apparently had there, there's not a need for that, I don't think, out there. And this
what
is
about
a very
the
dangerous
platforms,
spot.
Rob? Because what disturbs me is knowing this guy broke out 2 windows, and he's running back and forth to get different
And you can't really
angles.
tell on a lot of the camera angles, but they're 2 different positions. So he's shooting at like 45-degree angles out 2 different sides. So when people think they're safe from cover one, he's simply running to another room in a suite and engaging them from there.
Sick.
And this guy thought about this, and you know, just begs the question. This is maybe how you profile a guy goes into a room and he has 10 different suitcases at 10 different times. I mean, it's not unusual for him to stay long periods, but what's going on with the suitcases? Do you need that much stuff? So you know, it begs that question.
Unbelievable. I heard a psychiatrist earlier say he's so narcissistic that he thought he was the creme de la creme and couldn't get his head around the fact that someone else might get a job or something ahead of him, and so he wants to instill violence on other people. It's beyond.
He's
It's sick.
definitely crazy.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for serving our country. The fight over gun control has already begun, but is that really what the people of Las Vegas need right now? Bob Massey has lived there for 40 years, and he joins us live next.
Mr. President, you need to see this. It's political Armageddon.
Conspiracy, cover-ups,
So you're not denying
chaos.
Lives are at stake here.
Just another day in his White House.
the whole job around here is just putting out fires. Is it always like this?
Usually the flames are much higher.
10 seconds, Mr. President. You need to make the call. 5, 4, 3.
Oh my God. All new Designated Survivor on ABC.
When I got to be 50, my doctor told me that an aging prostate often causes frequent urination day and night. He suggested Urinazane.
If you get punished for using it. Newsflash, nobody's perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Switch and you could save $782 on home and auto insurance. Call 1-888-709-2166 for a free quote today. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
No more doctors trust for themselves. Nexium 24-Hour is the #1 choice of doctors and pharmacists for their own frequent heartburn and all-day, all-night protection. When it comes to frequent heartburn, trust Nexium 24-Hour.
The shooter, the motive, the investigation. Inside the Vegas attack and what we know now. We have every angle covered in our powerful lineup tonight.
Non-attorney spokesperson. Attention, this is an important type 2 diabetes warning. If you or a loved one took Invokana or Invokamet for diabetes and suffered amputation of toes, feet, or legs, call 800-444-8598 now. You may be entitled to compensation based on new data from 2 large clinical trials. The FDA has concluded that the type 2 diabetes medicines Invokana, Invokamet, and Invokamet XR causes an increased risk of leg and foot amputations. Call 800-444-8598 now for a free confidential consultation.
Introducing Clorox with Chloromax. Cleans and now protects, making your next cleanup easier. Uh-oh. I think we have a winner. Easier cleanup is the beginning. What comes next is everything.
All right, back to the latest out of Las Vegas in a moment, but first, some other headlines making news today, and there's a reason why we're playing that song. Legendary rocker Tom Petty has died. He passed away in the hospital late last night after suffering a heart attack at his home in California. He was just 66 years old. And the NFL holding a moment of silence for the Las Vegas shooting victims ahead of Monday Night Football. Everybody stood for that, but moments later, 2 Kansas City Chiefs took a seat for the national anthem. Everyone on the Washington Redskins stood tall. Meanwhile, 24 minutes after the hour, Steve, you have the latest over in Las Vegas.
I do, Brian. That's right. America right now in mourning, shock, and grief as Las Vegas reels from the deadliest mass shooting in American history. But that's not stopping Democrats from pushing gun control. Hillary Clinton tweeting, quote, "Imagine the deaths if the shooter had a silencer, which the NRA wants to make easier to get. Our grief isn't enough. we can and must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA, and work together to try to stop this from happening again. But is now the right time for politics? Fox News legal analyst Bob Massey, who has lived here for 40 years, joins us live on the Strip right now. Good morning, Steve. What do you think of Mrs. Clinton talking about the NRA?
Well, I mean, I just think she's trying to be relevant in a situation that she shouldn't be relevant in at all. But surely those of us who live here, that's the last thing we want to hear about is politics, the NRA, gun control, and things like that.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, and ultimately, there will be a conversation about gun control. But what gun control law could have stopped a guy from stockpiling all those guns up there, knocking out a window, and then shooting people?
Bad people can get guns anytime they want. I mean, anybody could get guns if they want to. It's just as simple as that.
Not only that, but if he hadn't used a gun, apparently they found in his car ammonium nitrate.
Yeah.
All you need is some fuel oil, and you got an Oklahoma City bomb.
As premeditated as anything I've seen.
All right. You've lived here for 40 years.
Yeah.
Before we just got started, you were talking about how right over here at the Most Holy Redeemer Shrine and at churches all around Las Vegas, there were special unity services last night at 7 o'clock to pull the town together.
Yeah, such a moving evening. Mass at St. Francis of Assisi, where I went, and other churches all over town. City Hall had a prayer vigil last night. I mean, the town really came together, and very needed, because I was telling you before that I sort of drove around yesterday, went to a couple casinos just to get a sense. I mean, it's so somber, you know, and just quiet, and you could just sense the feeling of the loss that everybody feels, and disbelief, because I have to tell you, it really hasn't settled in yet for us. You know, you're still at that point of trying to figure out how something like this could even happen, so it's still settling in.
But people were on the floors of the casino. They were still putting the money in the slot machine.
They're engaging.
They were going through the motions, but
they were engaging. And I think the other thing, because it's such a tourist town, people that come here to relax and then they experience this, it's just 180 degrees from the reason why they came here, you know.
Yesterday, 24 hours ago, you were on the show when I was in New York, and you were telling us a story about how you heard about what happened right back here through your son.
My youngest son called me and said, "Dad, turn on a television set," and a good friend of ours, my oldest son's couple, was here with 3 other couples. And ultimately, they made it out, made it home safe.
Right.
But when I listened to what they said and how it experienced, it was crazy. Then I learned later, when I went to work, one young girl works for me. She's only 20 years old, Maritza. She actually was here also. I didn't know.
Goodness.
She left 15 minutes before because she was tired and she had to come to work. And her mother called her up and said, "Where are you? Where are you?" I said, "I'm home. I just got home. I left early." She said, "Turn on the television set." So God was watching over her.
Well, I know the city is in shock, but the city is pulling together. Bob and I were just talking about how there's a GoFundMe page nationwide where I think we're up to about $3 million. But you were talking about fundraising, and Zappos, the shoe folks, stepped into it.
Zappos says whatever's raised. Last night at about 7 o'clock, before that, about $2 million was raised. Zappos said they will match whatever's going to be raised.
Right.
These big companies have stepped up because they love Las Vegas. They know what it means. And a very misunderstood city. You know, it's like you get up and go to work, we get up and go to work. Right. You know, this is another part of what we do. Casinos are an important part, but it's like every place else. There's families, there's kids that play every day and go to school.
Let's end where we started, and that was with the Hillary Clinton tweet about the NRA. What's your message as somebody who has lived in Las Vegas 40 years for politicians who want to politicize this just 36 hours after it happened?
They need to stay away from it. They need to understand what we're going through, and that this is not the venue, this is not the platform to use this. We understand it's a tragedy, and it's the worst massacre in the United States that we've had. It's not the time to do it.
It is not. All right.
Steve, it's good to see you. I'm sorry it's on these terms, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding. All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, right now, police working to learn more about the Las Vegas shooter who was in that hotel right behind me. So what did they find inside his house? Jillian is live in Mesquite, coming up next. And we're getting our first look at the faces of the victims, many of them using their last moments to save somebody else. The incredible stories of bravery. Straight ahead.
Through the cloud, all over the world.
The business model is completely different.
Yes, it is.
How are we going to handle all this?
We aren't.
People who know BDO. I used to handwrite lists to find out which website had my ideal hotel for the cheapest. Just scribbling all my options underneath each other. Well, Trivago does exactly that for me, saving me lots of time and money. Hotel? Trivago.
I'm only in my 60s. I've got a nice long life ahead, big plans. So when I found out Medicare doesn't pay all my medical expenses, I got a Medicare supplement insurance plan.
If you're eligible for Medicare, you may know it only covers about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. Call now and find out about an AARP Medicare supplement insurance plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement insurance plans, it could save you in out-of-pocket medical costs. Call now to request your free decision guide.
I've been with my doctor for 12 years. Now I know I'll be able to stick with them.
You'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks and virtually no referrals needed. See why millions of people have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP. Don't wait. Call now.
Are you worried about maintaining healthy blood pressure levels? Now, there's a once-a-day supplement to help maintain normal, healthy blood pressure. It's called Berkeley Life. Berkeley Life is 100% drug-free that helps boost your body's nitric oxide levels.
Because my nitric oxide levels have been maintained, my blood pressure level is also at a healthy state.
Support better cardiovascular health and boost your energy with Berkeley Life. Available with nitric oxide test strips at these fine retailers. Berkeley Life. It does a heart good.
Everybody knows smoking is bad for you. But what you might not know is that sitting all day at your desk may be just as bad. It may lead to heart disease and back pain, but standing more and sitting less is better for you. It decreases back pain and increases circulation. That's why there's Varidesk, the sit-stand solution that helps people feel better and get more done. It's crafted to last a lifetime and comes fully assembled, ready to work. Get yours at Varidesk.com.
It's time to get smart about home security. Introducing Floodlight Cam by Ring, a motion-activated security light with an HD camera.
Don't even think about it.
With Floodlight Cam, you can stop crime before it happens. Protecting your home has never been easier. Available at ring.com.
Only Invisalign clear aligners are made with Smart Track material to precisely move your teeth to your best smile. See how Invisalign treatment can shape your smile up to 50% faster today at Invisalign.com.
We are back with a Fox News alert. It is 4:32 here in Las Vegas right now. Authorities digging through the shooter's home as they search for a motive, and that intensifies.
You're now learning more about his family's criminal past.
Jillian Milley picks up the coverage. She's live outside one of the killer's home in Mesquite, Nevada. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning, guys. You just mentioned the killer's past. Let's talk about his dad for a second and put up a picture of him on the screen. His dad was a bank robber. He was actually on the FBI's most wanted list back in the 60s and 70s. That's information that became known to us yesterday. So police are definitely going to be looking into his background, his family's background, his computer, everything that they're able to seize from the property. If we come back out live, I want to show you the house right here. This is where Stephen Paddock lived with his girlfriend, police say, and you can see the garage is boarded up. That's where SWAT had to make access into the house yesterday. But I realize it's dark, but I just want to point out at the corner there of the driveway, you can see a pile of what looks like kind of broken up, twisted metal. That was the garage door as of 2 days ago. So you can still see some debris out there left over from SWAT trying to gain access to the house. But the problem right now is we don't have a motive. Nobody really knows too much information about this man, other than the fact that he was a gambler, other than the fact that he lived in different locations, including Texas, including now Nevada, California, Florida. The neighbor to this side, they have a sign outside saying, basically, do not disturb us, that don't ring our doorbell, stay off our property, do not block our driveway. The neighbor right directly to this side has a long note posted on their door, and at the end of it, it says, we do not know him, which is very telling. A lot of people say they don't know much about this man, but his neighbors from Florida, when he lived there, spoke. Take a listen.
If I waved to him, he wouldn't wave back. He would not engage you in conversation.
He seemed like a normal senior citizen, he and Mary Lou, just like my husband and I. I mean, other than his line of work was professional gambling.
She was talking about his girlfriend who lived here in the house with him. Now, I do want to point out to you, we actually reached out to a local gun shop in this town yesterday called Guns and Guitars, and they sent us back the statement that they've been sending. You may have seen it, I'm not sure, but they're saying that he was a customer. He did purchase firearms from their store. They did all the necessary background checks and everything was followed. They said he didn't really seem like he was out of the ordinary. So he seemed like a normal man, and that's what we're hearing is he seems normal. So police are going to be out here again today investigating, trying to figure out what they can to see if he has any sort of digital footprint, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that the investigators have picked up computers, which might be, according to one of the questions late last night, they asked a question, were there any laptops or computers found in the hotel? They looked at each other and said, we're still evaluating. So it looks like he had some type of social media or something going on in the hotel, let alone was in his myriad of houses. That's going to tell us a lot. Jillian, thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. You know, Steve and Brian, as we look at the images of the people who were killed yesterday or the night before, actually, they all look so young.
It reminds me of 9/11 a little bit because all these people in the middle of their work at work, 25, 35, 45, they were just cut down when they shouldn't have been. These people at a country music concert, New Country, for the most part, over a course of 3 days, had no idea what fate awaited them. And here's some of the stories to share. For example, Steve, what about Sonny Melton?
Well, Sonny Melton, husband, loses his life by saving his wife and shielded her from the bullets. And keep in mind, you know, when you see the total number of people who have died, 59, that is such a big number. There are 59 stories, and as the names come out, we'd like to tell you folks as much as we know about the victims.
Yes, Steve, this family, this couple right here, they had just been married a year. They got married in 2016, so it might not have even been a year. He is a nurse, and she is an orthopedic surgeon, and they're from Tennessee. Yeah, she practices at a hospital in Paris, Tennessee. She was running, and he stood behind her, holding her waist. He was shot in the back, trying to shield her, knowing that the gunman was behind them. And so they were running away, and she said he lost his life to save mine.
All right, another story is Mike McCurdy. He's an LA fire captain. He's a dad. He's got young children. He saved his sister-in-law, Jessie Preston, and after she was shot, he carried her back. And then he goes back again and helps some more people to get into safety.
Yeah, unbelievable. Then there's the Glendale firefighter, Mr. Steve Keys. He was shot while he was performing CPR on a woman at a concert venue. The good news is, Steve, he's expected to be okay. He's expected to live.
That's right. And then there's a Marine vet by the name of Taylor Winston and a friend, Jen Lewis, found unattended truck and used it to transport people to the hospital in 2 trips. They transported 24 people to Desert Springs Hospital Medical Center. You know, and there were so many vets and members of law enforcement in attendance yesterday. One of the stories that came out midday yesterday was about how a number of people's lives were saved because there were some people, vets, who had training. And what they did was, and it's a little on the gross side, but they actually stuck their fingers in the bullet holes to stop the bleeding. And that is apparently something you do in combat. And essentially, it was the same thing that they had come into contact with in that killing field behind me right here in downtown Las Vegas.
One of those guys said, Steve, that he gave credit to the military. He said, I would not have known how to do that. In the military, we learned to go toward all the action and the violence and what's happening to defend our country.
Yeah, they're used to hearing it. And you're referring to one of the stories, Mike Cronk. He braved the gunfire, used his shirt to stop the bleeding of his friend Ron, who was shot 3 times. By the way, they were there celebrating his 48th birthday. And he believes he was told by the EMTs his friend is going to be okay. But one of the 4 wounded did pass away, that Cronk did help. So this teacher kept going back and back and back. Yeah. All right, Steve, stay right there. 21 minutes before the top of the hour. Much more to come. We got to find out about the motivation, more on this guy, and also about the surviving stories, hopefully, with the 527 in the hospital.
Speaking of this guy, the killer wasn't even on the radar of law enforcement. How in the world is that possible, you might ask? Sheriff David Clark on that coming up.
Yep, and in Puerto Rico, well, it's in crisis after Hurricane Maria. The president heads there today. Geraldo Rivera has been there for at least a week. He's been on the ground. He will check in. Will he get that interview with the president today?
Sarah is confident. Destroy. But when it comes to mortgages, she's less confident. Fortunately, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
Have you ever seen something so beautiful that all you could say was, wow? Or walked on the world's best beach? At a place that made you feel like you were in a dream, where family comes first and fun is measured one ride at a time.
They're all about a good life.
Where you're served like royalty, but treated like family. Beaches, Turks, and Caicos, where anything is possible because everything is included. Wow! Get up to 65% off. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
To most, he's Phil Mickelson, pro golfer. To me, he's, well, Dad. So when his joint pain from psoriatic arthritis got really bad, it's scary.
Infections are common. Or if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if you have persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu.
Since Enbrel, Dad's back to being Dad.
Visit Enbrel.com and use a joint damage simulator to see how your joint damage could be progressing.
Ask about Enbrel. Enbrel. FDA approved for over 14 years.
At Wayfair.com, we think that when the big stuff ships free, it's just better.
Cover better, brunch better, crunch better, rock better, roll better, whoa better, dream better, clean better. Yeah, better!
Oh, Wayfair has free shipping. Game changer.
Fast better, free better, everything's better when
Get
it's
free shipping on orders over $49. Shop better at Wayfair.com.
Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
Every time we get a call from someone diagnosed with mesothelioma, our hearts sink and our blood boils. Companies that used asbestos knew of the risk and did nothing to prevent you.
Las Vegas in just a moment, but first some other headlines making news today. New York City is beefing up security, setting up extra counterterrorism units in tourist hotspots like Times Square. Officials say it's a precautionary move in the wake of what happened in Las Vegas. Other cities like Los Angeles and Chicago and Boston, they're also tightening up their security. And American spies were among the first and most severely affected by the audio attacks in Cuba. 21 U.S. diplomats falling victim, some reporting brain damage and hearing loss. President Trump is expected to reduce the Cuban embassy staff in Washington by 60%. And Equifax is now reporting an additional 2.5 million Americans might have been affected by that massive security breach, bringing the total to 145.5 million. Today, Equifax former CEO Richard Smith is going to be testifying in front of Congress.
All right, I've got Fox News alert now. President Trump heads back to the storm-battered island of Puerto Rico. They caused so much controversy over the weekend with the mayor spouting off and the governor praising him.
Fox News correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera, just rode with the Coast Guard as they were delivering much-needed supplies, and he joins us now from San Juan. That is so nice of you, Geraldo. I know you're from that area and have been there for about a week.
Ainsley and Brian, first of all, I haven't had a chance to give my heartfelt condolences to the victims in Las Vegas. It was just so horrifying what happened there, and so many people hurt so grievously, so many people killed. It's just staggering. And what we worried about here in Puerto Rico is that the president might be diverted from his planned trip here to go to Las Vegas. As we know now, he's coming here first to the great relief of the Puerto Rican people, I think, and then going on, as he should, to Las Vegas to give condolences and comfort to the victims of that massive crime. Here in Puerto Rico, the recovery is uneven. The devastation so broad, so extensive. Here in the famed Condado Strip in San Juan, it's still a mess. Most of these beautiful condos still have no power. Just 5% of the Puerto Rican people have electricity. About half have water, 1/3 have cell service. Many volunteers are picking up the slack, like this group in New York, National Guardsmen and others, reservists, who voluntarily got together their own aid shipment. Let's start there.
We're going to Cataño now. We came because we didn't think we had enough water. These are the donations that came from New York City, and we're going out today to take care of them.
As you said, the United States Coast Guard and other military and federal agencies are being part of this massive relief effort. I flew with the Coast Guard. Their commander is Captain Eric King.
The Coast Guard is trying to assist to get an assessment of what else is going on the island. So through our partners and with the Puerto Rican government as well as the federal government, we're launching our units and assets to try and make assessments and gain better situational awareness to assist the overall relief effort.
The food and water they are bringing to the more remote villages like Utuado, very, very necessary. You can see this devastated landscape. This is a monumental disaster involving more people than any natural disaster probably in modern history. We arrived in Utuado and the human chain was formed to get the food and water we had brought to the people in this needy area.
The problem in delivering aid, urgently needed aid, is the fact that Puerto Rico has a gigantic mountain range right in the middle of it. Many of the villages there are remote. They have not been reached in 9 days. That Coast Guard chopper is bringing urgently needed water and food to the village of Utuado.
On the way back from Utuado, we were fighting, we were racing bad weather. That's part of the problem. It continues to rain on and off here in Puerto Rico. That's why the dams were imperiled by an overload. We checked out the dam. It was doing okay. We managed to get back to the town of Aguadilla on the western side of Puerto Rico. To give you a little good news, one of the things we did manage to accomplish over the last few days was to visit with my 84-year-old Aunt Ellie. My dad would have been 102 years old. She's 84, his youngest sibling. We visited with Aunt Ellie, and Craig got her going, hooked her up electricity-wise with a brand new pocket generator. So Aunt Ellie got some aid, and so we're very happy about that. That's one thing I think that is underreported, how the Puerto Rican family, how families and neighbors are coming together to help each other. And I think that we are looking forward to the president's visit and what plan he has for the rebuilding of this battered island. Back to you guys in New York.
Hey, Geraldo, I know you're trying to solve problems. You're not getting involved in pointing fingers. The president comes today. Just real quick, I only have 30 seconds, but I'm just wondering what you think the chances are of that, the big critic of his, the mayor of San Juan, meeting with the president, and would you urge him to do so?
I would like that, Brian. Puerto Rico is riven with partisan politics. The mayor, Ulan, is a probable candidate for the Democrats for governor in 2020. I hope that she would put aside her partisan politics, and I hope the president would modify some of these harsh remarks that he made about her. I'd like people to be on the same team, pulling for the Puerto Rican people's recovery. Brian and Ainsley.
All right, Geraldo, great report. Unbelievable. Thanks so much. We'll check back with you.
Thank you so much, Geraldo. So cute, his dad's sister.
I know.
All right, the Las Vegas killer wasn't even on the radar of law enforcement. So how is that possible? You might ask Sheriff David Clark on that coming up.
Our equipment cleans like no one else's, with no harmful residue left behind. And our cleaning solution meets rigorous EPA Safer Choice standards.
That's why I call.
Call or go online for our $99 special.
Stanley Steamer, your certified cleaner.
For 100 years, heritage and innovation have made Gillette the #1 shave in America. Now get Gillette quality at lower prices every day. Brought to you by 1,200 workers in Boston. We're proud of giving you our best. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Grandma, look! Wow. Grandma, there's another one.
Thank you, VSP.
Vision coverage not offered through your employer? Look into affordable individual vision plans.
That's a beautiful
Direct from VSP.
Ready, Daddy?
Thank you, VSP.
Vision coverage not offered through your employer? Look into affordable individual vision plans. Direct from VSP.
The Vegas Massacre, as critical details
For his sleep apnea. Now he sleeps like a baby. But if it isn't cleaned well, it could make him sick.
Sanitizes and disinfects your mask, hose, and reservoir without any harsh chemicals and works on all popular CPAPs. Try the world's first automated CPAP sanitizer, risk-free for 30 days. Call 800-394-9076.
And no more getting sick from a dirty CPAP.
Call now to try So Clean risk-free for 30 days. Call 800-394-9076 or visit trysoclean.com.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
When I was first starting out as an engineer, I had to rely on my credit cards. The high interest rates were frustrating. So I looked for a smarter solution. With a personal loan from SoFi, I was able to cut my interest rates by 50%, and I'm saving over $8,000. Now I am back on top of my finances, and it feels really good.
A personal loan from SoFi is the smart way to consolidate debt. Get your rate online in less than 2 minutes. Visit trysofi.com.
A Fox News alert. Las Vegas witnessing the worst mass shooting in modern American history. But the killer was largely unknown to law enforcement before the event.
So what will investigators be looking for as they piece this whole thing together? We know he was a big-time gambler, and we know he was successful in business. Former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark is the spokesperson and senior advisor for America First Action, and joins us now after a lifetime in law enforcement. So, Sheriff, if I gave you this case, where would you start?
Well, look, this is the needle in the haystack reference that you hear in Homeland Security, enterprise, and environment. There's a lot of people, there's 350 million people in the United States, and they're not all known to law enforcement. So where I would start is doing a better job of engaging the public to help us out. And this, see something, say something campaign, I think has to be reevaluated. The only time we hear about it is at times like this. You'll hear people say, if you see something, call law enforcement or call somebody. But we don't tell people specifically, what to do, what to look for. I mean, I've been in law enforcement for nearly 40 years. And I'm suspicious about everything. And I can notice little things that go undetected to the average person who doesn't live in that state of hypervigilance like I did for 40 years. And so we have to be a little more specific. And it has to be an ongoing effort, not just after a tragedy such as this, but until we figure out a way, we meaning in law enforcement, how to better engage the public in helping us identify, give us clues. Hey, something not right about this guy, something not right about this house. I bet as this investigation goes on, we'll learn that somebody saw some things or heard some things or something that may have been relevant to
kidding. I mean, he had 23
prevent, detect, and disrupt. But until then, it's going to be a struggle.
23 guns in the hotel, 19 at his house. They said that he bought 3 or 4 at a time. So I mean, that necessarily is not illegal activity, but it's certainly eyebrow-raising activity.
Oh, without a doubt. And if you look at the hotel video, obviously the footage from the time he checked into that hotel until the time this happened. And I bet you'll see some obvious stuff that's obvious in hindsight. But if we do a better job of engaging the public and telling them specifically, here's the sort of things you need to look for, and then an ongoing campaign to do that. We spent a lot of money on this See Something, Say Something campaign, but I wonder what the results are.
I think we're all looking forward to hearing what the girlfriend, what she is going to say about this guy. His brother said he was normal, but we're finding out this morning or last night that his dad was on the FBI's most wanted list, like a bank robber. So there's got to be something there. I mean, clearly the guy has a screw loose and is evil, and there's got to be someone that comes forward that says some of this stuff about him. In your experience, what kind of a guy, what kind of a person could ever do what he did?
Wow. I'd have to be a behavioral scientist to be able to describe that. Evil, we saw it. We saw it play out. We saw it in Orlando. We saw it in San Bernardino. We saw it at Fort Hood. And, after a while, you look and what you hear over and over again is like some of the people's closest neighbors and friends saying, hey, he seemed like a normal guy to me. But oftentimes not. But the girlfriend is going to yield a lot, as in San Bernardino. Those are the individuals who are going to be able to shed some light. And there's no doubt in my mind that his girlfriend knew a lot more than she might be saying right now. And she probably holds the key
whether
to
or not he had a temper or something like that. All right, Sheriff. Thank you for joining us.
And both love to gamble. She was basically, she worked in a casino. All right, 4 minutes now before the top of the hour. Born in Australia and then became a citizen here. Laura Ingraham on the brand new call for gun control. Is that appropriate? Would that have helped?
And the video is incredible. Lines wrapped around the block with people waiting hours to give blood and hopefully save a life. How you can help next hour.
Hey, hon. We gotta go.